AM 790 Talk and Business presents The Coalition, a weekly one-hour show that looks at all sides of local, regional, and national news, as well as current events. Join us now for The Coalition.
Coalition, live on AM 790, Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, Coalition Radio Show _US on the Mighty Twitter, of course, on www.coalitionradio.us, where you can find our blog, our bookstore, everything you need for the life you lead. Joining me again, obviously, is my co-host, Dave Fisher. Dave, lightspeed trip right down from Mooney. I mean, you know, in a very real sense, I don't know if Mooney is even culturally that close to Providence in the type of speed that you exhibited here this morning.
No, I actually got from Woonsocket to East Providence in about 32 minutes today, so I hope there are no law enforcement officers listening, because I clearly broke several speed limits on the way to the station
If
today.
law enforcement is on the way, it's for completely different reasons, unrelated to speed whatsoever. We've got a great guest on today, so we're going to engage in a brief form of our weekly banter. This week was Budget Week from Ms. Raimondi. I, for one, profoundly underwhelmed. Your thoughts, Dave?
Underwhelmed is, I guess, a good way to put it. Let's get it done. Let's do this. I mean, is she the neighbor from Family Guy? Let's do this!
This sounds like a Benris commercial. We've come to the point where, essentially, she's rolling the dice on the very institution that is costing us and about to cost us close to $100 million. The eternal question for me to the Rhode Island Economic Development Commission, hence the AKA the Commerce Commission, is how can we miss you if you won't go away? And yet she's rolling the dice on number 7. These people have been abject failures on every single level for nearly a generation, and yet her answer is not to take the bond refinancing savings and roll them into either A, human services, or B, dare I say, lowering taxes, or C, lowering the structural deficit we're facing. No, she's going to put them into the hands of an individual who has never run economic development before, is an ethically challenged individual who comes from a failed Connecticut Department of Education. That is our answer. That is the jobs bill. That is the way forward.
Well, nothing brings you home to Rhode Island quite like being ethically challenged in our government. So
true. I guess he should be right at home with Pauline Walnuts and the rest of the crew. And on top of that, let's raise taxes on healthcare, because healthcare clearly isn't expensive enough. I mean, if you're going to raise taxes on 2 items in order to prevent their use, cigarettes and healthcare, there's a unique twisted irony there. I can't even afford. I literally cannot afford the healthcare package I have now. I have 2 teenage daughters. I've got an $8,000 deductible. I'm spending 5 figures a year on it because I'm not part of the blessed 1% that is the Rhode Island state government and their employees. And they're going to potentially tax me another 4 or 5%? I mean, the question of the day is, what drugs are they taking? How does that work?
Well, you know, if we pass the legal marijuana bill, maybe we'll actually get some creative ideas coming out of the General Assembly if they have a little puff before they start the session.
I mean, I have this vision of the let's just say the Budget Committee getting together under Ms. Raimondi's crew, and what is it? Dark Side of the Moon was a triple album. You could actually sort, fold, and screen the Chronic that way.
Oh, there was nothing like the double album for getting the seeds out. You know, you could just sprinkle the seeds, just fell down. That was awesome.
Absolutely. So
you can't do that with a CD case or an MP3, man. Damn kids today.
Right. So we're going to give away a small amount of money as a sop to Pauline Walnut's insane desire to simulate economic stimulus by undertaxing the wealthy on Social Security. We're going to raise health care costs to support a bureaucracy that clearly existed in its current form, in the form of, I don't know, what do they call them, insurance brokers beforehand. We're going to further decimate the real estate market in the one place that it's excelled, that is high-income properties, because we want those people not to buy here and not to be taxable here. And then on top of that, we're going to take all that money, give it to the Economic Development, and where have I heard this before? Microloans, lending to small business. The Commerce Commission / Economic Development Commission does not belong in the business in which they've displayed generational incompetency that is loaning money to people. I mean, just think, what is it? Providence Economic Development Commission, Rhode Island Economic Development, Commerce Corporation. Just how many more small business giveaways to our political hack friends are we going to tolerate in this state?
And what qualifies as a microloan in a state that gave away $100 million to a startup video game company? Micro is what? 5-6 million at that point?
Yeah, after a while, it just all adds up. So just an epic fail. I mean, the three letters that come to mind when I look at this are DOA, which is, I believe, to the political future of the Raimondi administration, as she is about to learn all about being under the bootstep, the heel, if you will, of hair, Pauline Walnuts himself, Nicky Mattiello. We're going to talk about this a little bit in our upcoming segment when we talk about the friendliness of the media and with the newer, kinder, whiter white, brighter brights speaker, who, while all the time exhibiting the political tendencies of our own local political Pol Pot, at the same time he presents.
Wait, did you just conflate Nick Mattiello with Pol Pot
on a political level? As he, journeys and shuttles and hurdles about the Rhode Island landscapes, demeaning people left and right.
But there's no, he's not enforcing mass killings or like napalm bombings or anything like that.
Hey, in roadie style, same thing. All right, we're talking parking spots here at the State House. This is important stuff. The kinder, friendlier, gentler, whiter whites, brighter brights, Pauline Walnuts, Nicky Mattiello, as he careens about the, I mean, look at this example with this Ken Block report this week. Ken Block, yeoman's work of the Lord, goes out on his own dime and does, I believe, and I've read part of it, and I'm winding my way through it, it's not exactly light reading, but does a pretty thorough analysis of the, I'll call it the public safety landscape around the state of Rhode Island. And he, in an interview here on WPRO, our sister station, essentially dismisses out of hand, clearly not even having bothered read it, because clearly Ken Block's got an agenda. And, the assistant who I follow, the assistant head of the Providence Fire Department, I believe, sent out a Twitter with a picture of, essentially from colonial times, alleging that Mr. Block would prefer to just hand out buckets to people to do fire. Hey, and by the way, the timing of, as I'll point out.
Hey, your house is on fire?
Hey.
Did you pay your fire tax?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It sucks to be you.
But, I get the feeling with Ken Block, though, I feel like he's more reactionary than I initially thought. I think he gets these ideas and goes on these missions when he gets bills to his house that he doesn't like. So he got his fire tax bill and he was like, "This is outrageous. I'm going to do something about this."
Yeah, but in the way that only a policy wonk multimillionaire can do it, which is Bloomberg style to drop some actually pretty informed bombs across Rhode Island. I mean, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on fire. We're grotesquely underfunded in certain inner-city police departments. There seems to be a real imbalance between how we spend our money, and there doesn't seem to be any direction at all. It's just, essentially, it's fire suppression by whatever the hell you can get away with at your local fire board that you've stuffed with people who are members of your family and your union. I mean, that seems to be the theory.
Well, when we talk about consolidation, I know that's a bad word to some, public sector union employees. Oh my God, people are going to lose their jobs, but honestly, like in a state this size, do we really need 39 of everything?
No.
of everything. Like, and economic development boards. There's an economic development professional in every city and town across this state.
Right.
But the problem with going after fire and police and schools is that's not the low-hanging fruit. When you talk about consolidation, the low-hanging fruit is things like trash collection.
Right.
That's already being contracted out. There's no union involved. There's none of that stuff. But, the rates that Woonsocket pays to, say, Waste Management for their trash pickup or Westerly pays to Waste Management for their pickup is radically different. Why not go for that low-hanging fruit where you don't have the union influence, where you can look at it and say, wait a second, this is buying in bulk. This is using our purchasing power as a state to get this product and or service at a lower cost. and nobody ever seems to look at the low-hanging fruit, which is not, I'd love to say that you can go after the biggest slice of the pie to get the biggest savings. That is true, but it's also usually the hardest job to do. So if you can kind of nip away at those costs through these kind of low-hanging fruit ideas, then the exorbitance of police, fire, schools seems a little bit less because you're now saving money in other areas.
Well, no, that's absolutely true. But getting back to Mr. Block's report, it's clear he did a public service by raising the issue, because this is an issue that can be addressed immediately at the municipal level, which is ultimately, as a libertarian, where I like to see things get driven to. I mean, in Cumberland, we've addressed the issue with, you can interpret the degree of success, but in Cumberland, we just finished a period of time where there were 4 separate fire districts. Now there are 1. Now the next goal is to get some of the top-heavy management now to go bye-bye and to spend more money on fire suppression and actually save the taxpayer some dollars. Now, in a similar vein, Ms. Raimondi has decided that the way to go in terms of one of our, let's just say the last industry that works in this state, which is tourism, is to start to consolidate some of the tourism councils, which clearly, at first blush looks like a great idea. I think it's a disaster. I think there's one part of the state that seems to be left alone by the state except to get taxes and seems to be pretty functional on its own, and that's Newport Island. Aquidneck Island, Newport. That Chamber of Commerce, that organization has done a phenomenal job of creating a worldwide image, despite Joey Palino's best efforts, all right, of being a family-friendly, historically interesting, entertainment-rich, restaurant-plentiful destination. I mean, literally world-class. So again,
are you making the case for Aquidneck Island secession right now?
Dude, if I were them, I'd have been to quote a wise philosopher, I'm out of here, bitches. Probably about 10 years ago, because they are nothing more than an ATM, nothing more, nothing less than an ATM.
Well,
for the rest of the state.
Think about how easy it would be: a definable border, a defendable border. There's only a couple ways in or out of Aquidneck Island. I mean, they could really, really put the clamp down if they wanted to.
And so, in other words, people like me would then drive to Aquidneck Island to do the job that people from Newport won't do.
That's right.
There you go. We're going to take a brief break now and talk about one of our sponsors, Beacon Shipping. We'll be back with you in just a moment. Beacon Shipping and Logistics, your own hometown source with international connections for vehicle delivery. 855-374-4748. Whether it be that vehicle at college, we're coming up to college break now. The college year is going to be up before you know it. You need that car that little Billy or little Susie has been taking to parties at Penn State or Cal Fulton. A great way to get it back. All the advantages of dealing with the internet, but a hometown reputation, a hometown connection. Fully insured. Background checks. Enclosed or open back carriers.
Ooh, open back, that sounds sexy.
Nationwide coverage. All right. Again, it's that time of year when the snowbirds are starting to come back. All those people who left Providence and Rhode Island because they thought there would be better climes economically, and down in North Carolina and Florida, and are suddenly realizing that the problem with North Carolina and Florida is that it's North Carolina and Florida. Yeah. All those folks are coming back. Heartened maybe by the recent, they created 24 jobs. What did they do? 2,400 jobs last month. They did that, in the Department of Public Works in Providence? With the new mayor. But really, service that shines. Beacon Shipping and Logistics. Again, 855-374-4748. BeaconShippingLogistics.com. We thank them for supporting independent radio. And we are back on the Coalition. My name is Pat Ford, otherwise known as the P.O. Taxpayer. I'm here with my co-host, Dave Fisher. We can be found on Facebook.com/The Coalition Radio, at the mighty Twitter at Coalition_radio, and, of course, our blog page and homepage at www.coalitionradio.us.
Which, if anybody has noticed, has undergone a slight change over the last week.